Welcome to Between Two Pastries, everybody. This is Nicole.
Hey everyone, it's Annie.
We have a super exciting guest today. We have Miss Allie Kiefer with us, and anybody who is in the running world and in those circles knows exactly who Allie Kiefer is. But
yeah, I'm like sweating.
I know, it's very exciting. So, Allie, we want to hear from you, your own bio.
Okay, so I'm a runner. I speak up about body image a lot. I love to travel. I have a almost 15-year-old dog. So I've been a dog mom for like a long time.
Forever.
I got him when I was in college. Yeah, it's crazy. My sister was killed in a car accident, and I feel like that's becoming part of my journey too, of like, I don't know, sharing to live because death is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to connect with people. So I think I'm, I don't know, I have this weird lifestyle where I travel around the world running and trying to connect with people in different ways.
Do you take your dog with you?
So I really want to, because it's my second time. I'm in London right now.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done a plane trip yet. I'm like, is 15 too old for your first plane trip? But I went to Spain for a month before I came to London, and I'd never been to the town we were in, so I didn't know how like dog friendly it would be. I know the Airbnb I booked wasn't dog friendly, but I obviously could have switched. But I think because I was going to do that and then come to London, and then I'm going to do go to some other friends' race back in Spain. So I'm going to go cheer them on. And then I'm hoping to do a race in the US. And then I'm going to Paris the marathon. I was like, it's kind of a big trip for a dog.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's done my domestic trips with me.
Okay.
Nice. Very nice.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Do you have a favorite location that you've been to?
I love Mammoth Lakes. I'm like obsessed with Mammoth Lakes. For the US is my spot. And then I loved Kenya. That whole trip, I think that just the culture is so different. And so I've been like really fortunate that I've had the ability to do these like month-long trips, and you really get immersed in a culture. And Kenya is just so different from America that I think I didn't go over there thinking I would learn a lot from them, but that I would just run fast, right? I just spent all my time running, but I learned a lot from them, and it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we went to Kenya, it was a variety of athletes from all over the world in this location. And it was so cool to interact and experience other people's cultures coming together to then have the Kenyan culture like right there, and the food and it was just, awesome. It was awesome. Kenya. So that I could totally, it's nice to hear someone else has been there and experienced that too, because it was so cool.
Yeah, that's not a typical place to go. So it is really cool that like she's been there. So is Annie. That's awesome. Yeah.
And they're so nice. Like I remember kind of running out of milk, and I didn't really know like, how do I get some more, because someone was shopping for me. And so I went to my neighbor and asked to borrow some, and he literally gave me the end of his milk. I'm like, no, I don't want to take the rest of your milk. But that's how nice people are.
Yeah.
The same guy invited me over to his family's house, and they had like a big dinner spread where they had so much. I mean, I left there stuffed, but when we left, it started to rain, and we asked for a ride home because this guy was my neighbor, and it was only, probably a 5-minute drive, but Kenyans don't really like the rain, and this American doesn't either. So it was great. It was like, great, we'll get a ride. But his mom had spent all of her money on the spread for dinner that she didn't have gas in her car.
Oh my
gosh.
Like that's just not our culture, that in the US we would ever do that.
Wow.
And I'm not saying it's necessarily better, but it's incredible how kind they are.
Yeah, I would say so.
Shirt off your back sort of thing, right? Like that's so great that you get to travel all over, because for American pro runners, I don't feel like you see that as often, at least from the 5 people that most running communities will follow, right? You don't see that. Yeah, they'll do the London Marathon or the Berlin Marathon, which is the majors and stuff.
Yeah.
Totally. You don't see them getting involved in a 5K in London, right? Or a race in Spain to cheer on friends. Like you don't, but you talk about those things, you advertise those things, and it's really cool. And I don't know if people understand like just how much depth there is to that versus I'm a pro and I go to the London Marathon and that's all I post. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
Right.
Yeah.
cool to see that depth with travel.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people told me for years that I would be so much better if I stayed in one place and just had a routine. And I tried it when I started to like not run very well. So I was like, I'll just stay in Austin, Texas. I love this place. I love the people. And I didn't run miraculously faster because I was in one place. Like it didn't work. So I've just kind of went back to like what I enjoy doing, and fortunate
that's where it comes from, is place things like what you find joy in, right?
Exactly.
Like you do what you find joy in, the other things will fall into place, whether it's, you know, running times or relationships or whatever people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, I guess that kind of brings us to one of our questions is what has been your personal running evolution in general?
So I followed my sister into the sport like really young. So the crossing guard noticed her in middle school and told my mom to sign her up for this track club, but I was 4 years younger. So I was only 5 years old, and my mom convinced them to let me be the youngest person in the group. And it wasn't like a lot of running, you know, everyone was pretty young. So we ran for Tic Tacs, like every 100 meters or something. We got a Tic Tac. I think it was more of a singing group.
I would do that now.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It was great. And then we only did that for a year, but my sister, you know, ran in middle school and then in high school. And so as soon as I was able to run or like pick a sport, I was playing club soccer, but I wanted to run in school because I just kind of wanted to be like my sister. And then I don't know why, but like drawn to it. I wanted to work hard and run a lot. And I had some natural gifts, but like by sophomore year, my mom got a trainer because our coaches, like our high school coaches, weren't that great. And they knew it, like they suggested a trainer. And so I started working with someone. And then over the summer, I like ran 55 miles a week.
Yeah.
And then
in high school,
like it got serious. It got real serious. Yeah.
It got serious. Yeah. And I saw a lot of gains from that. Like I went from not making state to making Foot Locker national championships. And then I started getting up before school and running every other day with my neighbor. Yeah. So luckily, like my neighbor is my best friend and still is. We moved to Austin, Texas together. And our parents had been best friends, and like so her family was all in the hospital when I was born, so
oh my gosh,
forever. And she was a big runner, and you know she still runs, so we still like have that bond together. And then I went to college at Wake Forest. I really wanted like a women's coach, and I got luckily that the school's really good and I had awesome teammates. And the whole woman coach thing didn't really work out because that was like the beginning of someone telling me to lose weight for running.
Oh, interesting.
Wait, Allie, before you go on, can I ask you a quick question about high school? Did you ever get injured in your high school career?
I like wasn't really injured. I got I had tonsillitis. So like there was one season where I basically just had tonsillitis every other week. And then I got my appendix removed because I had appendicitis. So I had a couple of random things.
But not any fractures so the body you were in high school was managing your load, essentially, is where I'm going with that.
Yes. And I probably was running more in high school than I was in college. And I mean, I was actually like fluffier in college probably than I was in high school. I mean, all of the like you're not the right size to be a runner just made me feel really bad about myself. And it was a program that you did a lot of intensity and not a ton of miles, and that's also not how I thrive as a runner, which some people did. So like there's no problem with that training method, just doesn't work for me. So I wasn't running well. I was being told I wasn't looking good, and you know, you're in a new place with all people that they need you as a teammate to show up, and I wasn't really showing up. So it was like they're still some of my really good friends, but it was tough, and it was tough on all of us. I think we all like came out with some scars from that experience.
I think everyone who goes to college to run to that degree, whether it's D1 or God, even D3, they're walking out with scars from whether it's coaches or, you know, there's a college in the area that I will work closely with, and they have, you know, their coaching staff has a, you know, one of the coaches likes nutrition, you know what I mean, doing that stuff for them, and it's a male and it's a women's team, and they can't figure out why all these girls are struggling, and it's like, you can't figure this out.
Oh gosh.
You know, like it's remarkable how I mean, you're removed from college, but like it's still happening, right? Like even as you're advocating this stuff and body positivity and like talking about like, hey, we can't have this happening in college sports.
Right.
Yeah.
It's worse, you know?
Yeah.
It's bad.
Crazy because I knew that I wasn't in a good environment, but I knew I wasn't in the worst environment because I knew schools that were getting weighed before they went to practice. And
oh my gosh.
yeah.
But do you mind me asking? It just, I'm sorry, but I find that just to be, it's ludicrous because of how little it has to do with anything. And it's disturbing to me. And I think to myself, you know, you're young, Allie, and I'm thinking, how long ago did this happen? Because it's not that long ago. Like, what year was this even?
So 2005 to 2009, I was at Wake Forest.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it just is mind blowing.
I know, it's really sad. I think that the problem is someone told my coach the same thing. So she was just saying what she had been told, and she ran professionally. Like she won NCAAs, she ran professionally, and she was always injured and like never really ran to her potential because she was not fueled. And
clearly,
yeah, but you know, it's the same thing of like, I think about having kids one day, and you know, I want to grow as a person so I don't give them the same scars that I have.
Right.
But if you don't get through the trauma of running and what someone told you and you don't deal with that, then you pass it along.
Right. Yeah, it's scary though, because it continues. You know what I mean? Like you said, it passes along, but it's like people know that it's being passed and yet struggle to stop it. You know, it's like they can see it and it just continue. Like, and I don't know how to get people to, you know, we created this podcast to vent about, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And now, you know, you still you get through to some people, but some people are still like totally roadblocked with that. If I run or want to run well, I need to be this weight or look this way or eat nothing, essentially.
Right.
Well,
it's hard to prove wrong.
Yeah. It just, and it isn't true. And the thing is these, you know, these coaches, I just feel like, again, it's another one of those things that it's like, I desperately want to be like regulated, you know, like even high schools now, like they need to have a sports dietitian on, you know, and then the coach does their thing and not food stuff, you know what I mean? And then the dietitian does that. Like, it's just, there needs to be a better way of doing this because it continues.
Helping these women, well, and guys too. I mean, I'm sure it happens on both ends, right?
The guys are really bad actually, because I think women know that it's wrong and so they try to hide it. So like when there was one girl especially struggling at Wake Forest, she just stopped coming to the dining hall, so you just like saw her less and less. And we went away for a trip and I noticed she had like not very much food, and so when we got back I just commented, you know, you don't need to do that. Like, you're a really good runner. You're running so well. And like, you need to fuel yourself. And you're going to like, you know, have all this success while being fueled. Right. And she said, don't tell anybody.
Oh.
And I went back and told everyone, like, you need to talk to her because she thinks she's getting like pulling one over on you. Right. When the guys will kind of be boastful about it, like, I only had X amount of calories, or I only weigh this amount of money. Like, they think it's like macho that they've starved themselves.
Right. How did you have the confidence in college to fuel and to do those things, to not engage in that, you know, mentality?
I think it made me depressed. Like when she would tell me to lose weight, it just didn't have the effect of like me. It did not want to appease her. I wanted to like eat my feelings.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
You didn't have that trigger to now, well, I guess I'm not eating ever again, and I'm going to run 40 more miles in addition this week. And, you know, like it made you turn inward essentially and feel, you know, and then react to the feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. Like feel like not good enough. I felt, and I still struggle with this, of feeling that somehow my body isn't right, just the way that I am naturally. And I have to work myself out of that. And so when she would say, you need to lose weight, it's like, well, I'm doing the mileage, you say, and I go to the dining hall and I eat what's there. It's not like I get 4 plates. Maybe I go up for seconds, but we're running. I feel like you're allowed seconds.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so I didn't think I was doing anything crazy, but yeah. So I just felt flawed. And I still am trying to like tell myself that I'm not flawed.
You're not flawed at
No.
all. 100%. And the thing that is, again, like, I think to these, you know, there's these different stages in a woman's life. And so, you know, we're not, you know, even when we're in high school, when we're in college, we're still not where we're supposed to be, because we're still in these weird developmental stages. I mean, we're not fully developed until we're like 25 anyway. You know, then everything just, you know, we have the bone that we're going to have, like everything is now finally in line. So it's just so sad to hear people like have these experiences, and then having these adults, right, that are supposed to be in this, you know, role of, you're supposed to trust them, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then they're creating this. Oof, it's just upsetting.
And I don't think people have the mental strength to see, you know, I mean, because again, you trust your coaches. I mean, you blindly trust them. I mean, I know that my experience, you know, if your coach tells you to do something, you do it. And so you kind of lose that think for yourself in a way, and things that we were that were grounded in us, like eating, you know, 3 meals a day, or snacks, or drinking water, or whatever, to the only focus is you need to be the best team or the best person on the team and win, and, you know, and then all of the sneaky private ways around getting to that place. And that's where it becomes really detrimental for people, to the point where, like you said, it's almost traumatic in some ways, and it sits with you for years later. Like, you know, I am good enough, and I don't have to believe this, but this belief was embedded that I have to look a certain way, or I don't look the right way. And we there's like one foot in the door that still sits there, like, I know this isn't true, but I still kind of believe it, or I was told this. And you add those types of comments on top of each other over time, and people are damaged. They're just, they can't believe something different. And that's where I think, obviously, certainly we struggle with that, as we see that every day. But the running community, I think, as on the whole, is getting worse and worse in that department. 100%. Pro or not.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the thing is, I just decided that I'm not going to be a victim to this, right? Like, you can just be like, oh, I'm flawed, I'm damaged, whatever. I've had all these experiences and it made me feel bad about myself. Or you get a therapist and you work through it, because shit fucking happens. I'm sorry, but
like
just gotta go.
Die, and everyone is gonna, you know, it's the life you choose to live, right?
Yeah. And my problem is more the people that think athletes should always be hungry, because like you'll see on message boards that these athletes, like they're like watching what they eat all the time, and some more than others, or some of them are a little fluffy, and you're like, oh my god,
right. But
it's
we all
so crazy.
We all have different, I mean, if you look at different types of runners, from 5K runners all the way through, you know, guys who are doing, you know, 100 milers and so forth, ultra distances or stage racing, their bodies are not all the same.
Right.
And that goes for men and women. Like,
well, no body is the same. There is no one body that is exactly the same. I don't understand why we don't understand that.
Right. Well, but in the running community, you have to look the same, you know, I mean, you have to look ill, essentially. And Ellie, you proved that wrong, though, when you were at New York. I mean, that was like your debut at New York, like set the stage for all of that to just explode.
Yeah, but what's funny about that is that no one told me there that you look any different. But someone put a mic in my face and I was like, wow, I just never thought that I'd be this good because I always thought I was flawed. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I was always told I needed to lose 5 pounds. So like, I still haven't lost it, you know?
I don't know what to do.
And yeah, that whole like conversation really opened up after that. But it was me saying it. And I realized that I keep saying it and having this conversation, and I have been trying to say it to help other people. But I also, the more I said like I was the bigger runner, the more I actually believed it. It's like no one in the outside world was calling me big anymore except for myself. So I've tried to like
a mantra or you know, identity of some nature. Like I don't know what another word would be, but that's not true either. You know what I mean?
Right, that's the thing.
But
yeah, well, it's like I was the only one saying it. So like I wasn't lifting myself up. I was putting myself down.
Yeah.
Did that affect your running then when that kind of switched over to you saying that?
So when no, I think at the beginning, I think it was like kind of powerful. And then when I wasn't running well, it was like, and I don't fit in. And when I go to start lines, I feel uncomfortable. I was making it much bigger than it actually was. And I remember one of my competitors writing on social media somewhere like, well, we don't say she's big. I was like, that's true. I mean, accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, within the women's pro running community, I assume none of the Shalanes of the world are saying those things to you, you know, who are trolling you, or the ones that are trolling you, or who are,
yeah.
You know, like I assume they're very supportive competitors, you know, in that regard.
Yeah, I think my competitors have been really supportive, and I think it's allowed some of them to open up about their struggles too, with people telling them to lose weight or them going too far. So I do think that part of my path was like, maybe I don't need to have the conversation as much anymore because I've opened the dialogue up to more and more people.
Nice.
We're like Emily Infield, Mary Kane, like people have come out with good stuff on it now.
Yeah, 100%.
Sharing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think part of the issue though too is, I mean, and whether you or they could even speak to this, like when they post a picture of, you know, like Kane winning, you know, whatever, setting whatever record or winning a race, and the comments though are not just congratulations, it's wow, look at your abs, wow, look at your quads, you know, it's like the general public who enjoys running or maybe is an amateur runner, that's like where their mind goes, is to focus on how you look as an athlete.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you just, I mean, just looking through your Instagram, you can see trolling that is happening, and it's like, what is wrong with people? Like, you know, and I've talked with like you know, different athletes who are African American or they're gay, and they get the same type of thing going on, and it's just like, what is wrong? Like, this person just won something. Who cares if there's sweat on them or they look a certain way? Like, it's unfortunately the view of society though, or that's the focus, I should say.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, I'm like, I'm not going to change all those people, right? Like that, and that's probably a reflection more of them than on me. And so I'm just going to like let them sit with that and work through their struggles if they ever want to. But yeah, it's like not for me to fix.
Mindset though, because that's a hard mindset to get to.
Yeah, getting a lot of trolls really help you learn how to deal with it.
Right, I suppose the more you're trolled, the more you're like, well, I need to handle this somehow.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yes. That was a stupid question, right?
No, it was fine.
Oh gosh. So we already kind of talked a little bit about like what your experience is with body image in general, but was there kind of an evolution for you with that? I mean, obviously to like where you are now. And then in the same token, was curious if your nutrition even changed at all through this process too. Like, were you ever manipulating what you were eating, and then, you know, versus maybe what's happening now in knowing how much you personally need and on all of that stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So after Wake Forest, I went to Arizona State, and the coach never talked about bodies, never told us how much to eat, just let us do our thing. And I had an injury that summer before I went there. So I didn't go in good shape. I had been running like 30 miles a week, and I was heavier, I'm not gonna lie. And I didn't really worry about it. And then I got there, nothing negative was said about it. You get a check-in when you go. So they knew how much I weighed and whatever, onwards. And then I got sick like somewhere through the first semester, and I had to go to like the doctors that had weighed me the first time. They weighed me again, and they're like, oh, you've lost weight. And it made sense because I was running a normal amount and, I'd lost some weight. And so they put me on like watch for an eating disorder. And I told the coach, and he was like, I'm not worried about you. I'm like, oh, okay. But it was a really nice couple of years there where just no one ever focused on the food aspect of it. And I think I know now that I do well in situations where the coach isn't also trying to be my nutritionist. Because I've worked with nutritionists outside of my coach, and that seems to work a little bit better. Because it's more like based on science than like just cut calories.
Yeah.
It's more of you actually fueling the run and becoming the best runner you can be, rather than like being as lean as possible.
Right.
And yeah, so that definitely works better. But in the spring, I was still at Arizona State, and I wouldn't say like I was trying to underfuel, but I was trying to not fuel overfuel. And I ended up skipping my period and then getting a stress fracture. So like I was on that line, and then obviously stepped over the line. And then that kind of became a recurring theme of, if I lost a period, I got a stress fracture.
Yep. Hands down.
So it was
Hands down.
like one period that, and
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
It was
That's
very,
the
very
feedback.
quick.
But what's really interesting about that, again, science related, and this is where the nerd part of me comes out, is that what that tells me right there is, even just that one skip period, that you were already kind of barely eating enough anyway to support. And so that's how much of a deficit was already happening. So you were already, even at that time, if you didn't even think you were, probably bottom line as lean as you possibly could be before your body was just not going to have it anymore. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, but my question back to that is, maybe it's not just calories, but the makeup of those calories. And so, yeah, I was probably not having enough, but what if I also wasn't having nutritionally dense foods? And because now, like a year ago, basically, I lost my period for 2 months in a row and didn't end up with any injuries. And I was freaking out, right? Because I'm like, I was trying to make the Olympic trials, and I knew like my history, and I started working with a nutritionist because I skipped a period, and I was eating what they said, and I still skipped. So like, I don't
well,
really
if you're
know
still
what happened
skipped,
there.
that means you were not taking in enough calories, period.
Right. And I agree with that part, but
Yeah.
I think that not getting a stress fracture, something changed there where like
the quality is
my
what you're saying.
bones. I don't know.
I mean, 5,000 calories of nutrient dense food is very different than 5,000 calories of whatever you want.
Right.
And the timing in which you're eating those calories makes a huge difference. So even though the calories, let's say, is the same, calories are not what's important to an athlete, right? Like, yeah, you have to get enough in. And so I think we try to stress that, right? But like at the end of the day, if you want to get in a good dinner, you can get the same calories by going to McDonald's and getting a Happy Meal, or you can have salmon and, you know what I mean? Like, even though the calories might be the same, it's a different nutrient makeup. And that can hugely play a role in terms of bone strength, like the mineral deposition and all that. So,
and I think that's the change I've made a lot. Is like, I cook most of my food, I eat a lot of good food, and
even traveling, you're good, like you're able to cook and do all the things and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there were like 4 days where I stayed in a hotel in Spain, but I just do the best I can, like when I'm there, and then I'm back here and I I've made dinner here every night. So
Yeah.
I feel like when you're traveling, and even when you're traveling the way that you do, where that's a regular thing versus a vacation, right? It still is nice to live and go out to eat and experience, you know what I mean? Like to be immersed in that culture and experience what other people, that's where I always struggle with racing overseas, is it's like, I really want to go to eat at this place, even though I know this isn't probably the best meal for me leading up to this. But it's like, I really want to experience versus, making what I know will sit well in my gut.
Right.
That's that like fine balance, right? It's hard.
it's funny you bring that up because I feel the exact same way. Like I want to have those experiences and be immersed in the culture. And part of that's food, and sharing with people is often over food too. But I've had times in my life where I don't want to go to eat because I don't know what they're cooking with or how many calories. And I think that was a real like trigger, like to me, whenever I get to that point, like, I don't want to go out. I'm like, no, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're in the country, and maybe for a lot of people, they wouldn't be back there again to have to a week from now be like, I'll eat there then, where it's more so like, this is your time to experience this, enjoy it, go see. But when I agree, when people get to that like point where like they're concerned about what they're eating at, where it's like, we've switched over into that wackadoodle, running is priority over community, right? Or over family, or just that experience of culture and all of those things. Like, we need to dial that back a little, or to like reassess, like you said, of just kind of like, okay, it's probably okay. Like, for example, oil is oil, like it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
the menu is probably something that's fine on the menu, to just kind of take that back and like rethink about like, okay, maybe I'm thinking too far into this or whatever, that sort of thing. Just
Well, and I love that you have that personal awareness enough to understand that's definitely a red flag for you. Like, oops, this is here. Interesting. Like, where did this come from? Haven't, thought I wasn't here anymore or whatever, so.
Yeah. Cause I've tried to, I used to say like, oh, I used to have weird things about body image or eating. It's like, no, I don't think those are kind of ever going to go away. I think that's something I'll always be working through. And I just have accepted that for myself, and that there's nothing wrong with me because I work through things. So yeah,
Exactly.
I have triggers.
I always tell my eating disorder patients, you will always experience these thoughts and feelings and triggers and all of those things. It's how you react to it.
Yeah.
That's what makes the difference. Like, the thoughts don't necessarily always leave, or feelings towards yourself, or like, oh, I hate how I look today. But it's how if I say that to myself and I'm still capable of getting dressed and running and going to work and meeting friends or whatever, or if saying that to myself is, now I'm going to shove myself in my room and I can't see anyone. There's a difference there. So it's how we react to those things. And it seems like you've gained quite a lot of wisdom from working on that stuff and really understanding who you are and who you want to be moving forward, like as a whole person versus a little runner and a travel, like compartmentalizing everything.
Yeah. I think even thinking about who you want to be is such a cool idea, right? Like, who do you want to be, and then go mold that. You get to choose.
I don't know if people think that they can do that though. Like I mean, you're probably familiar with tons of people as well in the running community where like that's their identity. There's nothing like that is how they shape their Friday nights or their Saturdays or their, and what they're eating and all. And it's like, hey, like, you have a family and a job and like all of these things, like, you're more than just this 50K coming up.
Right.
Like,
right.
Okay to like other things. Like, you can do other things. It's okay. And it's very like one-sided sometimes in that regard.
Yeah. I don't feel that way at all.
Good. It's awesome.
Yeah. I know people kind of pushed back on that recently. And then I was like, had a little niggle. I don't know what American word for that is, like a little hiccup or something. And then I got COVID, and I just kind of like took some time off and chilled and went on walks. And one of my friends was like, are you sure? Like, I had kind of met him like that month. So he's like, you're really a professional runner. Yeah, like when I run, I'm pretty fast. I'm just like not really doing it right now. He's like, oh yeah, like my sister runs and she's addicted. She has to go on her run every day. Like, yeah,
Ah,
I don't have that. Like I love running, but if I feel like poop, I have COVID. I'm not going for a run. Maybe I don't care what the schedule said.
and I
Right.
love that. It's really
I
good
know,
to
that's
honor
how
your
it's-
body. And that's exactly what we only hope people would be doing. So that's
Right.
so amazing. Mhm.
It's such a good grip on your sport, because I feel like
Yes.
that's how the best athletes in the world think about their sport, is like, no, it's okay, I can take a rest, or I don't, 2 hours, I just did 75 minutes because I'm not feeling well, or I, whatever. They
Right.
don't, they
Yeah.
have a level of flexibility. It's not, to succeed at a sport to a particular level does not involve a ton of rigidity.
Right.
I hope so. Yeah. Cause I don't really have that.
No, but that's so great. But I guess that kind of leads us to another question we had was, what you think makes somebody a good runner, a good performer, what creates that?
A good performer. I had a sports psychologist that would be like, you have a performer self, like you're almost like an actor. And I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it is being calm under pressure.
I think
That's
that's
so
smart.
hard.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, to run fast, you have to like do all the work to get there.
Right.
So
Right.
you've got to figure out what kind of training works for you and then work that for yourself. Because I run a lot of mileage and honestly, like a lot of longer workouts that end up being slower than like a Sakura Diamata. It looks like she does a lot more speedy workouts that are shorter.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I'm going to run 219, but like I wouldn't be as good as I am now if I was doing it her way. So you just got to figure out what works for you and be confident in that. And then I think, like we said, respect your body, like there's, but a lot of it is being cool under pressure, because there are people I've trained with that were way better than me. And then I outperformed in the race. And sometimes that's because I was a cool cat on the start line. And sometimes it's because they didn't have the confidence to actually taper.
Right. That's huge. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
taper.
Yeah. Or I mean,
don't
if you
know
don't,
about in the your pro community, but from the level that I'm at in the ultra running world, very few people will taper.
I don't get it. I feel so good when I taper. Like, yeah, not immediately, but
Mhm.
you know what's crazy is like I will go through. So when I got to Spain, I started running a ton of mileage, and this was like a month ago. And I had COVID. It basically took December off. So then I'm like 6 days into January. I landed in Spain, and I just shot off with. And first week was 99 miles. I'm like, okay, ready to go.
Wow.
Yes. But I feel like my body goes into overdrive where it's like fight or flight. And
Yeah.
it just worries about like my sleep isn't great. My recovery probably isn't great. It does like everything it needs to just like make it to the next day. And then as soon as I taper, I sleep great. I like eat more, like I'm more hungry. I mean, your body needs some rest to absorb everything you've done. And
that's where the adaptation occurs, right? Like that's what the point of those rest days and taper periods are, is adaptation.
Yes, but I do think a lot of people don't take them. And I've noticed for myself that it takes confidence to take the rest day.
Right. But if you don't like your body, you're probably not going to take a rest, because you don't feel like you deserve it, earn it, or you don't know like, oh, I can't eat as much, so therefore I need to exercise. It's that link between those two. And that's what, at least working with, I know for your clientele and mine, like to get people to take a rest day is like pulling teeth.
Yeah. You're just never going to get better if you don't take a rest day or like several down days a week, right? You can't go, you're going to burn more calories if you just go hard and do interval training all day long, but you're not going to run faster. So like, you got to pick what your goal is. And that's harder to do when you are struggling. So
Right. And that's harder to do if, say, some disordered eating or eating disorder mentality is running the show.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's being masked by being a runner.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, it's tricky because I get, whenever I write about body image, someone will always write on my post like, but you look great. Like, okay, well, it has nothing to do with the way someone looks, because people look great, they don't look great, whatever they look like in their heads, they're not satisfied, they're not happy, they don't see it like that. Like, it's a emotional feeling.
Yeah. Body positivity and body negativity is a mental state. It's not necessarily always about the external, the physical. It has a lot to do with how you view yourself as a human being, and how you view, see yourself, in the mirror and those things, but just it goes beyond that, right? Like,
Yeah.
huge. And it's so alarming at how many young girls just don't have that level of positivity about themselves at all. And so much from a young girl standpoint is very physical, but like even growing into 20 somethings, 30 somethings, adults, people are just so negative towards themselves, and there's so much self-hatred. But they, again, if I run and I do it well, therefore I won't hate myself. And yet I think that the hatred gets so magnitude at that point, right? Like,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, and it's unsustainable because you can't run well forever if you're not eating. So then it's all going to go downhill.
Right.
I mean, I would say, like, take out the eating part, but just I put a lot of stock in my self-worth as my running results. Like, if I was running well, I was a good Allie, or I was happy, or I was, worthy or something.
Right.
And when I had a couple of years of bad races, like, it was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was really hard. And then I was with a guy that was not very good on the emotional side. Not that he didn't want to, he's just didn't have those skills.
Yeah.
And dang, it took a lot out of me. Like, it almost wrecked me.
Right.
And now I feel like I'm running better again. And I've worked on a lot of, like, those are two different things. Like, I'm worthy, and whatever my race results are, like, they're not intertwined at all. Or I'm trying to get there.
that's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. And I have different people in my life because I made some friends kind of outside of running, and it's so wonderful because they don't care. No, it's just running. They don't care. They like me for me. Cool. I'm a weird runner that gets up at 5:30 and goes out. But they have also, like, different skills that they can be there for me emotionally. And that's been really huge.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I was kind of curious about that too, being a body image activist in general, but, what are some, like, core things that you do to keep yourself, kind of up with that for you? How do you take care of yourself around that?
I mean, I talk to a therapist. I have a nutritionist now that I work with, and I like to connect with my friends or the people in my circle when I need to. Or, I mean, I talk to people a lot, so yeah, I do. And I'm also really okay with being vulnerable and open. So,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
especially on, like, the Brits standard, I'm
Ugh.
like, off the deep end. But
Right. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I'll kind of just, like, talk to anyone I'm around about anything that I think's, like, I'm going through. And in most of the time, I think you're saying things just to be heard, not really for advice. Like, we know the right thing.
Yep.
So yeah. But yeah, I have people.
That's good. That's good.
I also use Instagram like a journal, which is really therapeutic for me.
Oh,
I feel like I just get it out,
mm-hmm.
and then it doesn't have power over me anymore.
Nice.
So I'm like, okay, I had this experience,
right? Just to fit it, and here's what comes after that. You've gotten it out, and you feel good just speaking and writing, which is a good thing.
Yeah. And the comments back help, because people will be like, oh, I've dealt with that too, or you're great, or it's a lot of positive and connecting again. Like, Instagram has been a really nice way to connect with a bunch of people that I would never have met otherwise. I mean, running in general as well, right? If I didn't run, where would I meet all these cool people?
Yeah. Yeah. And how would you kind of describe like your role as a body image activist?
I don't really think of it as a role. I think I probably did more before, like, oh, I'm a body image activist. Now I'm just a person living that also is vulnerable and struggles with things. And whatever those things are, I'm open to sharing. And as I feel them in my own life, I just put it out to the world. So, one of my friends, when I moved to Austin, like the first person I really became good friends with, it's like, I feel like you're more than the body image girl. And I was like, you're right. I need to dive into those other things because I do want to share my experiences, but I don't want to pigeonhole myself as one thing. Like,
how wonderful though to have that reflection back to you. Like that's really cool.
Yeah. I know I've had good people in my life.
Yeah. Really cool.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Have you met a lot of people in the body image community? I mean, in the sense of, being an activist and stuff, like, are there things that you've gone to or people you've met who partake in the same, whether it be in professional sports or acting or whatever that you've interacted with and do you have the sense that they have the same struggles and it continues, or that they've reached a point where they're not struggling anymore? Like, do you see anything there?
I think we're all still working through that space. Like I said, with my own, I don't think it just goes away magically. I've met a lot of other athletes and I think it's just a constant thing you're working on and reminding yourself that you can do it. I mean,
so there's a level of vulnerability there for everyone. I mean, everyone at the end of the day, but for those who are body positive activists and really striving for human acceptance, not just your body, but who you are as a human. I suppose there would always be a vulnerability there, but that they also like talk about that, I guess. Do they, whether it be.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't really know these people personally, like as much as a good friend of mine, but like talk to them outside of Instagram. So I don't know, like I can't be the best person to describe how they're feeling, but I just think, especially in running, we have a sense that we're supposed to, like, thinner is faster, which I think a lot of people are kind of knocking now, especially like Sarah Hall. I wish she would talk about this, but I feel like she's gained weight to be a better marathoner. Like, she's getting really banged up going into races. So she's like actually stronger and looks really good right now and hasn't been getting injured at all. And it's really cool to see. So yeah, I think there's been a lot of people like coming back against that myth that, it's not true. Like all the people I listed earlier. And I think, we're all still trying to figure it out though, because
it goes against the mainstream, right? Like it's just an uphill battle to some degree, and it's challenging because the voices that go against that are so loud, and they're very powerful. So that's great though that we're seeing that little shift, right? Like, just it'll be good if we can get the full shift to occur. That would be amazing, just in sports in general. Baseball, basketball, like everything needs that shift.
Yeah. I mean, I think of it as like there are people that want to be helped or can be helped, and then there are people that are just never going to change their minds and they're going to fight you. And I don't really worry about the last group,
right?
And it is what it is,
right? Absolutely.
I'm just curious on what you are most proud of for yourself. And it doesn't, I'm not even thinking like what you've all accomplished, because you've accomplished quite a bit, but I'm just sort of curious, like, what you're really proud of yourself for.
I think it's that I, live a really weird life that brings me a lot of joy and figured out a way to make it work.
Cool.
even, like I got getting dropped by Wazelle. I was kind of living this lifestyle, but they were basically sponsoring it. And it was really cool. And my contract ended with them. And I figured out a way to have a business and do this, and a business I enjoy doing, coaching people, and still like live around the world and have all these experiences. So I'm glad I didn't give up on myself, that like I could actually make this work. And I think I would just die at like a 9 to 5 in a cubicle. My mom has done that her entire life, and she doesn't complain about it. I don't know how she doesn't complain about it.
Everybody's a little different.
Oh my God. I think my soul would be taken from my body.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I'm just glad I didn't revert to that when like it all of a sudden wasn't working out.
Yeah. Well, I think about it. I love what you said, where you didn't give up like on yourself and what you want. And really, even just your story that you personally shared, you never have. You never have. And that's really cool. That's really cool.
I wish that we all wouldn't give up on ourselves.
Right. That's the goal, isn't it?
I feel like my mom kind of set that in me, because she had always told my sister and I that we could be whatever we wanted to be.
Yeah.
Her dad said the opposite to her. I was like, you'll never become anything. So she decided she was going to change that. And I think I've just always, if I want to do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Like I got that from my mom for sure. And it's a little sad because I feel like she hasn't believed that in her own life, but it is a gift she gave to me. So appreciative of that.
Awesome. That is awesome. One of the last things that we always like to ask our people too is what your favorite food is.
Ooh, I love bagels.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Like plain with nothing on it, or
cinnamon raisin with strawberry cream cheese.
Really?
Strawberry cream.
What a combo. Yeah. Is it
like from Panera or?
Oh, Panera? No.
What? That's funny.
Absolute Bagels in New York City.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Way Upper West Side, but they're the best bagels in the world.
A legit bagel. Yes.
Yes.
That's awesome.
No Panera. Don't come at me with that.
I had to.
I'm from New York. You gotta go.
So awesome. Yeah.
It's so cool.
How about your running fuel, actually? Do you have like specific things that just like really, really work for you?
Like on the run or before? I take Morton during. I do oats the morning of, like, I had a long run today. I did oats. And then the night before is usually like salmon and rice, and if it's not a marathon, a vegetable.
Yeah, right. Easy to digest. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you like the Morton?
I mean, I use it for the first one in New York City and it worked. So I was like, why would I change anything?
Plain, right? Like it doesn't taste like anything, right?
Yeah. That's the whole point, is that there's nothing else to like bother your stomach. Right. So it's minimal. So it's just energy for running and no of the other stuff. Yeah. It's kind of sweet. And then the caffeine one is a little bit more bitter, but it doesn't bother me at all.
So is that all you use? Is just a fluid, you don't eat?
It's like a gel.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
but that's all you're doing? Yeah.
I do use the the bottles and like the fluid on.
Oh, okay.
Like in a race, we get them every 5 or 6K.
Oh, sure.
So that's all of that I do. Yeah. Although I'm interested in doing an ultra. So I'm gonna have to, I've done some like, I mean, I haven't eaten and ran a lot at the same time, but I have done it a few times.
Okay.
And I think I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah. Cool.
Just like gels, you just experiment and see what works.
Yeah.
And then you can just go after Des Linden's 50K record.
I really want to do Comrades.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. I've got a good friend here that's South African, so he's trying to get me geared up for it.
Would you do a down year or an up year?
It's a down year, so I'd do the down year.
Nice.
I'm a great downhill runner.
Yeah.
Wow.
So cool. Just lean forward.
Yeah, I heard it like beats you up way more, but hopefully not during.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. I love that.
Are there any like last messages, last words, last things that you want to share at all?
I don't think I have anything. I mean, just do you, be you, and enjoy that. You don't have to be anyone different.
That's right. That's awesome. Amen, sister. Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much, Allie, for your time today. This was awesome. And yeah, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely. All right.
Bye.
Bye.